to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How's your day going? I hope it hasn't been too bad. A bit wet in certain parts of Queensland and out west. Certainly a bit of rain coming down to the north of me and to the west. Central Queensland's in for a bit of a dousing. But I know that the folks in Noosa are enjoying it. Their gardens haven't had much rain for a few weeks. So getting a bit of a drop at the moment isn't such a bad thing. So if that's what you're looking forward to, great. Let's hope it doesn't turn into bloody floods, washing everything out of your lounge room. That can be a little bit disconcerting. It is the time of year, though, for a gentle piece of weather engineering, regardless of whether Donald Trump seems to have outlawed it or not. There is certainly every indication that there's a lot of it happening. And now I've boxed myself into something. There's news coming on the weather front. And that's about all I can say. I'm sorry. Yep, that's about all I can say. I'm a dickhead. I'm a dickhead. Forget I said that. Just move on. But be happy in the knowledge that there are things happening in the world. And for some of us, there is small amounts of confirmation of it. So, yay. Go team. How are you all doing tonight? Get myself out of the hole I've dug myself into. The gorgeous Aussie Sue was first in the house tonight. Thank you for popping in. And as always, the best advice she offers to everybody, as we always do, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, let people know about the show. We only speak truth on this show. Sometimes we have a bit of fun with the truth, but we don't tell lies. We don't make lies out of it. Sometimes the truth is just so outrageously crazy that if you don't laugh at it, you'd go bloody mad. So sadly, there is a bit of that going on in the world at the moment. But given some conversations I've had today, there is a general consensus that a lot more people are waking up around Australia and by extension around the world. Certainly Victorians are being woken up in fairly rapid fashions, but how many of them will wake up is another matter. South Australians are being alerted to the fact that the Malinakis government looks like they are unbackable favourites into winning, but who will be the next opposition in South Australia, who could potentially lead or be the next opposition in Victoria, are all big issues that we're facing. And that requires candidate support. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight, but we'll get to that in the not too distant future. The lovely Rachel is in the house. Now, I have emailed myself 3 times some photos that she sent me today. Today is the anniversary of she and little Jimmy's time together, 6 months. There is a fabulous shot of Jimmy in his bow tie and one where he's laying back looking like, the Lord Almighty. And for some reason or other, I haven't been able to get them through my email for whatever reason. I've been waiting for like 20 minutes to push them through, and they still haven't come. So if they've come up by the end of the show, then I will definitely put those up for you. Yes, What the Brewster's Millions is a movie I remember very fondly. Richard Pryor was in it from memory, and we were only talking about this, only a matter of a couple of weeks ago in the show, I think, from memory. It was always pretty cool. And Rach, you started one that took my interest, Beware the Ides of March, which is Sunday. Do any of us believe big things might happen on Sunday or Monday? Yes, I fully believe big things could happen Sunday, Monday. It depends on which side of the world you're on as to which Sunday or Monday that might be. And Sunday, Monday is a nice crossover time in the world time clock scale, if you like. Given that markets open here and the bots start working here late on Sunday nights for the markets, and I'm talking about the stock markets. And by Monday morning, New Zealand and Australia are the first to open, followed by the Asian markets, followed by the Americans, the Canadians, and then the POMs. And that's sort of how the schedule works across the day. Will it work on Monday and Tuesday? Or Sunday and Monday? Because even though you and I may not be able to buy or trade silver on a weekend, those people trading futures can. And tomorrow is a very, very significant day. Tomorrow is the date where all of the orders for silver that have been placed for February need to be transmitted, and they would be transmitted to the CME or to JP Morgan, or generally to the COMEX, to say, on the 1st of March, we need to turn up at your office and pick up X amount of millions of ounces of silver on behalf of our investors. At which point the COMEX says, we don't have it. Why don't they have it? Well, the CME group have done the audit. There is 88 million ounces of silver in the vaults. That's physical silver in the vaults. And there is something like 240 million orders for million ounces of orders. That will not be fulfilled tomorrow. They do not have that sort of silver available to them to physically fulfill their contracts. So they will default on them. Now, where you and I lose out is the market makes up its own rules at any time, and it changes the rules whenever it feels like it. It didn't feel like changing the rules when the price of silver dropped $40 an ounce inside 24 to 30 hours a month ago. Didn't think that was anything catastrophic. They didn't need to step in. But you'll be interested to know that a few hours ago, the word came out that the CME group has stopped trading and the COMEX has stopped trading silver. Now, this is in their time frame 48 hours ahead of when they've actually got to turn up and provide the silver to those people that want to take control of the physical product. But this is unheard of pretty much, except they did it once before about a month ago. And that's where the COMEX jacked up the margins and the amount of money that they required from all the traders to back up their trades. Well, that's not available to them again this time round, although they have tried it. And if you're looking at the price now, they've been trying most of the day to knock the price of silver back down. They've succeeded marginally. It's at 121.89 at the moment. It has been as high today as about 128.15. And there is every likelihood that before we wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be back up there again, because London is about to kick in and the trades from Europe will start affecting overnight. So keep an eye on it. I did say ride the bull, but this is the dangerous end of the month for riding anything. I talk pretty positively about what I expect to be the outcome, but it may not be the outcome. It could be exactly the opposite. Somewhere, what could screw all this up for you and I, and those of us thinking we might be able to take a little profit this time round if you didn't do it last time? Well, what could screw it up is that everything in that paper market is lies. But should one of the big banks, JP Morgan, HBSC or HB, whatever it is, HBC, HBC, ABQ, whatever they are, Citibank, Bank of America, should any of them have very large stockpiles of silver, then they will have spoofed the market again if they were to introduce that silver straight into the market. And they probably would have the ability to drop the price considerably, dependent on how many millions of ounces they were prepared to plow into it. The problem that they've had, and they have tried doing that in the last 6 to 12 months, is that every time they plow their own silver into it, it hasn't been able to suppress the price. All it's done is drive demand. And that's why we've seen a continued escalation. So it's anybody's guess what's going to happen come the tick of midnight at the end of this month. I personally believe that the market is going to suffer a ruction, and that could be, in our terms, Sunday, Monday, or in American terms, Monday, Tuesday, or their Sunday, Monday. You get the idea what I'm saying? The timeline, the time zones screw it around a bit. But I would base everything on an American timeline. Australia doesn't really set the tempo in any of this, so I would be basing that on American timelines. That might help you through. So anyway, still keep buying. That would be my suggestion. Keep buying. I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually looked what the spread is today. If you are looking to actually buy an ounce of silver, and I'll go to Ainsley, their spot price is 122.22. And if you're going to buy an ounce, you're looking at $150.81. So it's a $28 spread, thereabouts. That is a premium that you are paying. And if you can afford to pay it, probably not a bad thing. But you're going to have to wait a little while before you make your money back. I think it's going to take a little bit yet before we get to $150. And sadly, my prediction of $200 by the end of the month is not likely to come true. Not saying it won't come true. It may come true first week of March, but it's not going to come through, I don't think, anytime now. Very quickly, want to thank so many of you who have jumped onto our merch site, and you've obviously taken a liking to the coffee mugs, both the FBN and the Cacistocracy cup, I believe, is selling like hotcakes. So thank you very much. If you do want to go and pick yourself up a mug or a shirt or a stubby holder with Cacistocracy or FBN, Voice of Freedom stuff there, then please go to merch.vofhq.com and avail yourself of the selection. Vince has been working really hard on putting up some great designs, and you could repay his enthusiasm and skill by taking a mug or whatever you can afford. Pardon me. All right, just having a bit of a glance down through your Ray, what are we talking about Basel III for? Now, let me go back up here and try and find out what all that's about. So I'm under the impression that we are in Basel IV conditions right now, but maybe I'm wrong. The commercial banking system is currently based on a promise to pay note. Yes, you are right. Yes, anybody who believes that that little piece of plastic in your pocket that's got $5, $10, or $20 or $100 written on it is actually money, you are wrong. It's currency, but all it is a promissory note. And back in the day, and it's not that far ago, I mean, it probably sounds ancient to young people, but in the 70s, in the 80s, more particularly in the 70s and 60s and 70s, probably halfway through the 80s, your money was ostensibly backed by gold and silver, and it said so. It said it could be redeemed for gold and silver if you wanted it to. That all changed and was slowly phased out. They took the Commonwealth off our banknotes and just made them Australia banknotes. That also makes them completely illegitimate as a form of currency, just between you, me, and the gatepost. And it's a promise. It's a piece of plastic. It has no intrinsic value whatsoever. And if the government came out tomorrow and said the $100 note is now worth $1, that's what it's worth. However, if you hold $100 worth of silver tomorrow and they come out and tell you that your $100 worth of silver is only worth $1, you smile politely and say, "Oh yeah, okay," and wander off and find somebody who'll pay you somewhere between the spot and the premium price if you really have to sell it. And that would be my advice to you at the moment, folks. If you find yourself in a position, I don't give financial advice, so take this for what you will. If you find yourself in a position where you've got a bit of a stash and you need to get some cash out, then rather than immediately going to a bullion dealer, and I don't mean to take this away from Ainsley, they'll give you the fairest price they can, But you might find that there are private individuals who will pay you above the spot price, but less than the premium price. So the premium price is the $150 you pay to buy an ounce of silver now, and that's just an Ainsley round. So that's the premium price, and the spot price is 122. So you would want to look for somebody who might pay you somewhere in the realms of $135 to $140 an ounce, because they believe and know that they're going to make that back pretty quickly, the way the market is going. So they're saving. If they were going to go out and have to buy the same coin you are, then they'd be paying $150 for it. So they'll save themselves $10. You'll make yourself 10 or 20, and everybody goes away happy. However, when you do buy and sell silver like that, you must be extremely careful. You must be absolutely, particularly if you are the buyer, you must know how to test the silver. You must know how to prove that it is 4.9 quality silver that you are swapping whatever it is for. And of course, Black Sheep has a video that we've played here a number of times that will tell you. But if you've got a silver coin and a 20-cent piece, slide the 20-cent piece down the silver coin and see how fast it moves, and then slide another piece of silver over your silver coin and see how fast that moves. And that's what you've got to look for. There's practically no friction with silver on silver. It's beautiful. Anyway, enough for my little hints and tips on that part for the day. Let's get into some of the things that are happening around the world. And there are some pretty interesting things happening just here in Australia. How would you like to be a Muslim girl? So here's the deal. Islamic schools in Victoria have been tracking their female students' menstrual cycles since primary school. That is the statement made by a number of 16-year-old girls who go to Muslim schools in Victoria. And when approached, the school principal said, yeah, of course we do. And, we send them off to the girls' room during prayer time. So they're segregated from everywhere else, probably just the other girls. At prayer time, they've got to go off to the girls' room, where they stay, don't have to pray. They're excused from prayers. They get to watch religious videos instead, apparently. If those girls spend more than 9 days in a row going to the girls' room, their parents are called, because clearly there'll be a medical problem or something's not right. Or should the girl, for whatever reason, turn up more than once in a month, parents will be called. Many questions will be asked. I don't know what to say about that, other than it's just wrong on so many levels. And here we are having to smile politely and bend over politely and say, yeah, that's okay. No worries. Bit like, I guess what's being kept from us in Sydney at the moment. Now, there is a pandemic in Sydney at the moment of bashings, LB, TB, AB, QB, QB, ZB types, the kids that don't really know what the hell they are being targeted through a dating app. And once they accept or swipe down or up or left or right or whatever it is you've got to do, they wind up at these meetings with what turns out to be a bunch of Muslim men or boys, teenagers. I beg your pardon. These little shits aren't men. They're far, far, far from it. Where these little shits then beat up the gays, the lesbians, the TQIAs, and do a hell of a job on them, to a point where every one of these people has been seriously hurt and had to go and spend time in hospital. Now, some things you may not know, there have been 64 attacks like that, all done by Muslim teenagers in the last 12 months. They are growing in severe frequency in Sydney at the moment. We don't hear about them because the perpetrators are 14, 15, and 16 years of age. That's a broad age group. There are not just 3 kids doing this. There are a number of militant Muslim children who are going out on these gay bashing parties and think there's nothing wrong with it. Now, these children are also taking videos. They are also using Islamic State and Caliphate slogans, and in some cases have been raised in homes that support Islamic State and the Caliphate. And regardless of their great intentions coming over the border, things seem to have changed. So I ask you folks, do we have candidates that would stand up and ask for those sorts of people to be removed? Now, these little shits could have been born in Australia for all we know, and probably were. So you can't deport the little turds. What do you do with them, I ask? Do you set up a nice little camp? Because we had camps set up for us, you know. They were going to stick people in camps in the middle of nowhere for us. It is possible. In fact, they built one just outside of Toowoomba. Should these people be put in those sorts of camps and monitored? Should there be re-education camps? Look at me, a German, saying a re-education camp. God, can you imagine what the trolls will say? I'm asking the question. I'm not suggesting we should one way or the other. But what do we do about them? Let their parents figure it out. Well, their parents are the frigging problem. If they've still got a father who isn't locked up in Supermax for some other hate crime somewhere, then great. And what hope do we have when Muslim teachers involve themselves in fights on Bondi Beach? Because that's exactly what a senior teacher from a senior Islamic school did, presumably on a day he wasn't noting down his female students' periods. Turned up at the beach and wound up smacking a Jew fairly solidly in the mouth. He got arrested and got off today with a warning. Today or yesterday? With a warning. Now, he still lost his job. He still lost his teaching credentials. Now, whether or not because he got off with a warning, no conviction recorded, he'll have all that restored to him, and he'll be back taking note of 12, 13, 14-year-old girls' periods before you know it. He'll be back in a classroom being patted on the back by his students for the actions that he took that day. But God, if you or I were to talk about it, we are the worst kind of people. Well, here's a couple of the worst kind of people. These are the 2 tards, and I say that with absolutely no respect for them in the world. These are the 2 tards that turned up at a house in Sydney a couple of weeks ago and kidnapped this poor bugger. Now, they found this gentleman yesterday or the day before, dead, beside a golf course out in Western Sydney. Dural was a property that he had been taken to, a property at Dural, which is a suburb of Western Sydney. They believe he died there 2 days after he was taken by Tweedledee and Tweedledum here. Tweedledee and Tweedledum were arrested yesterday. Tweedledum had his pants around his ankles while he was doing it. I don't know if they caught him in the middle of a wank or he's very concerned because at the moment he has shingles as well. There's probably the only good reason I can see those coppers being rugged up like that for a wuss. But at any rate, he's got shingles. Now, the lawyer for that bloke in particular, and his name is Stevens from memory, has come out of the courts today, or come out of a court hearing today where they did appear via video link. It was an administrative thing more than anything else. But this lawyer came out and was quite shocked. Oops, hitting the wrong thing. He was quite shocked at what he had learned. Now, this is on the back of 5 teenagers being charged with beating the shit out of gay people in Sydney, right? He went and learned that the brief of evidence, or the fact sheet, as they call it at this stage, provided by police is so abhorrent that this guy has him rethinking his career choices. Now, the lawyer for this bloke is an ex-copper who went on and then became a defense lawyer. And even he is saying he has a very hard time doing his job at the moment after having read the fact sheet. So that gives you an indication that whatever will come out in this trial is going to be pretty awful. I suspect that they tortured this poor old bloke for as long as they probably could. And when they eventually got the message back that's saying, from the guy they originally targeted, I believe, saying, you've got the wrong bloke, it was too late to do much about it. So these kids, and they are kids, 24 and I think 28 or something like that, can't wait to hear the Dumb and Dumber story of how these idiots thought they could get away with a kidnapping. But they're not alone, folks, because New Vision has just been released this evening. CCTV footage captured 4 young gentlemen grabbing a 53-year-old bloke, abducting him, putting him into a car, disappearing off, and took him to Dural. Now, I don't know what it is about Dural, but if you live in Dural and you own a property there, your neighbours are shit. Because I'm figuring if you're still in Dural, you haven't been one of the properties that the police have raided and cleaned up everything. But my God, a lot of stuff goes on out in Dural. So turns out this footage is a few weeks old, and police were able to get to this gentleman at a property in Dural and save him 2 days after he was abducted. He was taken at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and 2 days later they had him. At the scene, they arrested a 16-year-old boy who was presumably guarding him at the time, waiting for whomever to come back and do whatever. Now, this has led to a whole interesting debate with some friends of mine this morning about crime, organized crime, bikie gangs, that sort of thing. Old school versus what happens today. And I was talking to some old school people. And the scene from their day to today compared to today could not be more different. The idea of going out and killing someone, even if they had ripped the club off in a drug deal or something, that was not something that was taken lightly. A decision to go and kill a person was not taken lightly by, any of the clubs, as far as I'm aware, back in the day, because the consequences for doing so were severe. And I have to be honest, bikie clubs, and particularly outlaw bikie clubs, have always been exceptionally good educators when it comes to consequences. You can join a club. Absolutely. You follow the club rules. If you don't follow the club rules, there are consequences. Some of them more severe than others. But today, that doesn't happen. Today, most of those clubs have been taken over by foreign influencers, by influencers who call themselves influencers and are influenced by the gangster ideology that comes out of particularly California, but America in general. One of the other things that they have learned, possibly from affiliations with groups overseas, is that they no longer have to do their dirty work. They don't even have to think about it. There are children out there. Evidence, the guy who's 16 years old sitting in a shed protecting a fella who'd assume he helped kidnap a couple of days beforehand, certainly wasn't there to help him. And these 2 other young fools, Dumb and Dumber, who have got involved for whatever reason. There are other people involved in that too. That's just the first 2 arrests. But they're not smart enough to have come up with a plan to abduct anybody for anything. They were working on an order. And that is the disturbing conversation we were having today. That the people who are taking these contracts, let's call them contracts, to kill someone or to torture them or to abduct them for ransom, they are doing so with no intelligence, no reconnaissance, no preparation, no nothing. And they have no care. And that's the dangerous thing. Because you or I, in a similar position where we've kidnapped somebody and we discover that we've kidnapped the wrong person, might think, oh, well, I haven't seen our face yet. We'll just let them out the back door quietly and walk away. But that's not the way these new young breed think. These new young'uns believe they are invincible and killing someone is nothing. All it does is increase their credibility. Their credibility where, I don't know, because some of the gentlemen that I was talking to today have spent some years in jail and in the penal system, and I would take their word over the assumptions of a teenager or a young 20-something over how they're going to be accepted in prison, given how tough they are killing someone. These people are not smart. They haven't learned that it's not about being tough enough to kill. It's why you did it. And was that justified in a criminal sense? And if it's not, you can likely find yourself in a serious predicament inside. So these young thugs, these young wannabe gangsters, these young murderers and kidnappers are in for a hell of a shock when they get inside, folks, because there are people inside there waiting for them. You want to be tough, little boy? We'll show you tough. And we should all be a little grateful that there are people like that inside who do work on our behalf. And they do work on our behalf. Quietly. It's a bit like being a 16-year-old committing crimes in New South Wales or Victoria or Queensland. Nobody ever hears about it. It's such a bad thing, really. The EBS is coming. The EBS is coming. Labor have decided they're going to overhaul our national warning system. So be prepared, folks. Big things coming our way. What are they going to look like? Well, they're going to look like a test on the 27th of July. An alarm will blare out from almost every phone in the country. I don't know why it won't be every phone in the country, but almost every phone in the country. It will be a non-dismissible alert. There'll be flashes up on the screen, and it will say First National Oz Alert or something like that. Now, this is a test. The alert message on the screen will say this is a test of the AusStart new emergency warning system. No action is required. If it is an actual emergency, yada, 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 yada. Now, this system is very, very, very targeted. It has the ability to do a number of pretty spectacular things, can I just say, including accuracy down to 160 meters. Why should we be so excited about that? Well, that will mean, in theory, that if the bushfire is in southern New South Wales or northern Queensland, all of New South Wales or all of Queensland aren't going to get an emergency message. In fact, if you aren't within what would be the declared area, you won't get a message at all. It doesn't matter if you're not within a mobile phone network, apparently. It doesn't matter if your devices have an active SIM card in them or not. As long as they're alive, I suppose, got power to them, something is going to start beeping and you are going to get a message. I think the most exciting thing for me with this is the fact that you're not going to get warnings that you can ignore because, let's face it, it's happened numerous times in the past while they've been trying to put these old SMS systems in. I don't know if you've experienced it. I was in Canberra once and got a warning of a bushfire that was happening in far north Queensland, and I hadn't even ever been to far north Queensland. I've had a warning about floods that were happening 1,500 kilometres away from me. Okay, floods can travel south, but it wasn't really relevant. And what that sort of messaging does is it leads people who are unaffected by the disaster or whatever the emergency message was sent out for. It leads them not to respect the emergency tone. Oh, it's just something for somebody else. Oh, it'll be far north Queensland. Oh, it'll be. And if there happened to be something in the news that was, there's bushfires in Western Australia or, whatever, they have a tendency, people, to put it down. Oh, that's what that'll be about. And they don't look at it. So this new system is able to target specific towns, for instance. So if your town is in a direct bushfire threat area, then that town and anywhere that the cells are located around that town for 160 meters in each direction can be given a direct message. You in Mackenzie Street, get out now. You in whatever town, get out now. So I think this is going to be a much safer system. It will mean that people won't be able to ignore it. And, of course, it could also mean a great easy way to be contacted should, I don't know, Donald Trump want to say anything. Oh, did I say that out loud? No. Now, dates where this is going to be tested in the communities it's going to be tested in June 10. June seems to be the testing month. Why is it only these areas? I don't know. Western Australia, I beg your pardon, ACT, first of all, that'll be at the main hub. Launceston will be tested on the 15th of June. Port Douglas, 16th of June. Liverpool, New South Wales, 17th of June. Tennant Creek, Northern Territory on the 18th. Geelong and Victoria that day too. Goomalling in Western Australia on the 19th. The 20th will be Port Lincoln in South Australia. And then back into Canberra and the ACT and around New South Wales on the 21st. Provided I imagine that those tests will go fine. So you are likely to see, if you live in any of those areas, you are likely to see one of these test messages coming through as they test the communications in those areas. So don't go and get all worried and concerned if you get something like that coming up through June. And I'll try and remember to remind you of that as we get up there. The bloke who usually pops on a Friday night and waves wonderfully has been doing pretty good things over at the FBN channel. I urge you to pop across and have a look, particularly, folks, if you are in South Australia. Vince is doing a series of interviews at the moment with all of the candidates, or many of them that will agree, to have a chat with him. He's got a series of 16 questions that he's asking all of them. And this is, as I say, for the South Australian election. If you are interested in supporting Vince, and he would love your support, go over and give him a like, give him a subscribe if you're not already on there. And if you are a South Australian, I would urge you to take this opportunity to get a look at some of the candidates, maybe the candidate that's in your particular area. And we are hoping, time is everything. The offer is open to all candidates. Should any or all candidates in South Australia wish to have airtime on FBN, you need only reach out. We will, between Vince and myself, we will make sure that your interview is done and put up in a very timely fashion. We also have a responsibility professionally to do that, folks. If I offer one side the opportunity to put forward their manifesto for election, then I must offer the other side. It's only fair. So that deal is open to any candidate running for any party or indeed independently in the South Australian election. Please contact Vince at vofhq.com, or you can send me an email, carl@vofhq.com, and we will certainly line you up for an interview sooner rather than later. Vince has got a new one up. I've forgotten now which one he has got up today. He's gonna maybe hang on. Now he did send me another one of these, so maybe that other one, if I go over here and have a look, says who he's been chatting to. Let me just open it and see. No, he hasn't mentioned which two he's spoken to, but he's interviewed two in the last 24 hours or so. And one of them is definitely up. The other one, I think, is uploading at the moment. So you should have a couple there you can go and check out. And good luck finding a candidate that is going to support you and what you believe is best for South Australia. At the moment, there doesn't seem to be a South Australian opposition, even though I'm led to believe that the Liberal Party are fielding candidates in every seat. So too are One Nation fielding candidates in every seat of the lower house or the assembly or whatever they call it in South Australia. And 4 seats in the Senate. I think that's as many are up for grabs this time round. No, they have 11. So you'd think there'd be a minimum of 5 going up this time round. At any rate, there are 4 Senate attemptees, if you like, for One Nation. And Victoria, of course, is looking more and more like the shit fight we all know it is. And they're facing a November election with a lot of noise coming out of One Nation in Victoria there, to a point where I've led to believe that they'll be running in every seat in Victoria as well, upper and lower house. So these 2 elections, I would say the South Australia one arguably has a little more importance to it at this stage, are going to be significant for the future of this One Nation rise to power. If they can pull off a significant victory in South Australia, and once they pull off that significant victory, I don't think that significant victory is going to be leading the state, but it might be opposition. All right? It might be the primary opposition. And it would be very good to see One Nation in that position, able to argue the case in point, argue on behalf of the people, and then we can really see how One Nation as a state policy in South Australia would move us forward, and hopefully that would echo in Victoria and nationally going further. Fingers crossed. That's all we can do. I found this, I don't know whether that's upsetting or whatever. These 2 women here on the left, I got no idea whether one of them is Australian, and I assume one of them is probably an ambassador or something like that from the US. But here they were celebrating US beef being brought into Australia and now sold on our shelves. Okay, we sell beef to the Yanks. Why shouldn't we take the Yanks' beef with us? Well, I can probably think of 100,000 friggin' reasons, if I'm honest. I beg your pardon. They have a much bigger market than we do domestically. Our meat's a shitload better than theirs. And some of that was evidenced by this bloke butchering it. I'm being a bit obtuse there. This is all supposedly building great American relationships here in Australia, but I didn't see any of our own beef producers invited to this event. And like I say, I can't tell you whether or not there is anybody of Australian significance standing up, willing to stand up in front of a camera and welcoming to Australia US beef exports. Can you really see that happening? The bloke that Wade has often tried to get a hold of from the Farmers Federation, the new president of the Farmers Federation, Hamish, whatever his name is, you'll be guaranteed that he was going to be locked up in the National Farmers Federation office, probably only a stone's throw from where this happened at the US Embassy in Canberra. What did he have to say about it? Nothing. I haven't found anything from our agricultural minister saying anything about this, good or bad, one way or the other. I think it's just another hot potato they don't particularly want people to be looking at, tasting or touching right about now. They are a sad, sad mob. But we move on. What else do we move on to here? Oh, yeah. Now, this is interesting. This is a Democrat. Now, this Democrat was seated last night as we watched, or yesterday, as we watched the State of the Union speech from Donald Trump. He has come out today and attacked all his fellow Democrats. So this senator, John Fetterman, I have a little bit of respect for. He says the yelling, screaming, holding up of signs, I don't care if the president is Republican or Democrat, don't do that. Respect the office. When half the people in my party haven't shown up, some choose to yell and scream, some chose to wear badges saying fuck ICE, some chose to be yelling and screaming, ranting abuse, as you would expect from a Somali freeloader. Sorry, he didn't say any of that. Some choose to yell and scream. That's what he said. Well, that's not what we want. I don't think dancing frogs really moves the ball for us as a party. Not quite sure which dancing frogs he was referring to, unless it's our favorite frog. You all know about that one. So at least there's one Democrat who didn't get off his ass and stand up and applaud, who didn't get up and support Americans when Donald Trump said, will you please stand up if you believe that the job of American government is to look after and protect the American people and not illegal immigrants. He didn't stand up then. He would have made his point there a lot stronger. I mean, he looked embarrassed. There are a few shots of him during the whole thing. He looked incredibly embarrassed to be a Democrat. And I would have been if I'd have been in the room and pretended to be a Democrat. You couldn't possibly think any other way. Sick, strange, stupid people. But they are what they are, and all we can live in hope for is that at some point they have been caught, they have been measured, and they have been tagged. And to that end, I want to throw back a few years and thank my good mate Glenn for posting this memory up. Glenn, Patriot 101, posted this up on his Facebook. Do you remember the deep state foot brace? Do you remember anything at all about it? Now, these were all the rage a few years ago. Plenty of celebrities had apparently fallen, tripped, fell, done real damage to their legs. But every one of them is wearing a tracker. That's the story. If you also go and drill down into this picture and look for other pictures of these people, you will also find the Illuminati hand over the eye photos from all of them. There is at least one of them that's got the red shoes on, the red leather shoes. And these are just a handful that he's grabbed. There are so many more. I know we've been on this game for a long time. We've been filled with information, some of it real and relevant, some of it diversionary, and useless. And I believe part of the journey that we've all been through has been to learn discernment, to learn to listen to that little voice that's crying out inside every one of us to be heard, amongst all the other voices that they've programmed to keep us distracted in here. So take a little time every day. Spend a little quiet time. Try and quieten those other voices and try and focus on that one true voice that is looking out to protect you, to help you grow, to give you a direction to the abundance you are seeking. We are going to find that from within, folks. And once we are more in touch with our inside, we are going to be much better equipped to deal with that which is attacking us from the outside. Practice, practice, practice. And it could be meditation for you. It could be a variety of different things. People like running. People like walking. People like swimming. Some people like sitting in a chair and closing their eyes and meditating. Some people like doing Tai Chi. Some people like doing yoga. Find that quiet space. Quell all those programmed voices. And you'll know which one is real. You'll know the one that you should be listening to, because when you quiet all that other chatter, it resonates. The voice you need to listen to, you can feel where it comes from. It's very different to all the other voices. And so, if you can quieten those extraneous, distracting, divisive other noises and voices, we will be on our way to a future where potentially we can get beyond no suitable candidates in our elections and get to a point where we have a wealth of talent wanting to serve a set term, not have a career, not set up their life and future and their family's fortune, just a set term, 4 years, maybe 8, just enough to make sure the programs get started, that they're kept on track, and that somebody is trained to follow you up and keep the program on track. This country can go a lot further. But until we can get a voting paper that has something like no suitable candidate or none of the above, then we're stuck with trying to work with what we've got. And what we've got at the moment is a phenomenal wave of support for one particular party, and that particular party promises to make the greatest, most significant changes in this nation's history if it is elected to power. Now, I don't know why we would have any reason to suspect One Nation would be able to do this. But what I do know is that the Liberal and Labor Party definitely are not going to do this. So One Nation and that tsunami of support that they've got, well, let's see what they can do it. Let's see what we can do. There are 4 million non-voters in this country. That is a huge voting bloc. That is a powerful bloc that we, the disparate group that we are, control. Now, what would happen if we could harness those 4 million votes? That is a pretty big voting bloc to bring to any party. What if those 4 million voters said, righto, this is your last chance. I will come back out of the woodwork and I will vote one last time and give you the best opportunity to get over the line. Now, if we could get those 4 million voters to step up and vote for, well, the tsunami of the day, at the moment it's One Nation, then that has the ability to push that party, whichever party that happened to be, but right now it is One Nation, over the line and into leadership. But they would only get that power on the proviso that they did a few things once they got in there. Started making great changes. And she's already stated, Pauline's already stated, the party has a number of policies already released, policies that you and I would support 100%. Get out of the WHO, get out of the WEF, get out of the UN, get out of the Paris Climate Agreement, stop the climate lunacy, start slapping those climate fantasized scientists around the head and ears profusely, sack them, and put in people who actually understand what science is and not how just to maintain your own funding. And I guess that goes to what government of the day we would be put in, because the scientists need funding like anybody else. And if they go to private funders to get that funding, those private funders expect an outcome to help them in most cases. So we should take that out of the there should be no private funding for that sort of stuff. We have a CSIRO filled with apparently very intelligent people who get paid over $1 million a year, or at least one of them does. We have the skills, we have the people, we have the abilities, we have the infrastructure. What we don't have is the will in government to lead it. So instead of no suitable candidate, which I believe has to be our next step, because if one nation cannot ride this tsunami of support over the line and make significant differences with it, then there clearly is no suitable candidate. And when the next election comes around, maybe there'll be something different. And I'm not talking about candidates or parties. One nation have the opportunity to prove to 4 million non-voters who've given up on the system completely, plus all the other support that they've garnered already, they have the ability to unite that group together and become one of the most powerful political parties in this country. My question is, will they work for the people if they are given that privilege? I want to believe they will, but there will be practicalities and problems involved in that. And may I suggest most of those problems will begin with the bureaucrats. Those human beings that have been in the swamp all their working lives, who've been greasing, grafting, and licking politicians of every flavour for their entire career, and greasing their way up the public service pole, probably in more ways than one. It's got to change, folks. And 4 million non-voters in this nation can be the difference. We can be the difference. Do we want to be the difference? Does it go against everything that we believe in? Well, it might. It might. But unless you can present an idea about everything you believe in being the all-powerful fix-it, and you can do it and get it done inside 2.5 years, why would you want to fight the tsunami? Why do you want to swim against the tsunami? Why do you want to be crushed by it? Ride it. Ride it all the way in. Push it as far in as it can go. Create as much wreckage and damage by getting one nation as deeply into the power places of this nation as we can. On the proviso that they start wrecking it. They start fixing the system. They start holding people accountable. They change the bullshit laws in that parliament so that if you are brought before anybody in an estimates setting and you lie or you obfuscate or you're just a smarmy prick who thinks you're smarter than everybody else in the room, there is a consequence. And that consequence should have 4 walls, 1 door, and no fucking window. The public servants work for us. They need to be brought to heel because at the moment they are a rabid dog. And you know what happens to rabid dogs. Have a good night, folks. Stay off the roads. The dickheads are out.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!